Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Professor Sharma. We live in this hyper-competitive world. And have you ever wondered why some corporate giants just fall apart while others seem to thrive no matter what's thrown at them? Well, the answer lies in a really powerful concept that goes way beyond traditional strategy. It's called dynamic capabilities. Now, this is absolutely crucial for your exams, but honestly, it's even more important for just understanding how business works today. So let's get right into it. All right, so here's our game plan for today. First up, we're going to look at a pretty big flaw in the classic resource-based view, the theory we all learned first. Then we'll see how dynamic capabilities come in as a solution, and we'll break it down into 3 pillars: sensing, seizing, and transforming. And finally, we'll wrap it all up by showing how this creates a much smarter, upgraded model for strategy. Let's begin. So first things first, why do we even need to talk about dynamic capabilities? I mean, what was wrong with the old theories? To answer that, we have to start with the foundation of modern strategy, something called the resource-based view. Now, I'm sure most of you have come across the VRIO framework in your studies. The resource-based view, or RBV, basically argues that a company gets a lasting competitive advantage from its resources, but only if they are valuable, rare, hard to imitate, and the company is organized to use them. It's a solid, classic theory. For a long time, it was the gold standard. But, and this is a huge but, what happens when the entire world shifts under your feet? When technology or markets or what customers want just changes, almost overnight. In the world we live in right now, are those amazing resources you've built up over decades, are they still enough? And this is where the cracks start to show. We live in what the experts call a VUCA world. It's volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And in this kind of crazy environment, a company's greatest strength can suddenly become its biggest weakness. We call this a core rigidity. Just think of Blockbuster. There are thousands of physical stores where their crown jewel, their core strength. But the moment streaming video appeared, those same stores became a giant concrete anchor dragging them to the bottom of the ocean. So, if that's the problem, what's the answer? How do you deal with a VUCA world? Well, the solution is a powerful idea called dynamic capabilities. This is what allows a company to not just survive constant change, but to actually use it to their advantage and thrive. Okay, let's look at the official definition from the man who coined the term, David Teese. He called it the firm's ability to integrate, build, and reconfigure its skills and assets to deal with change. Now, to put that in simple terms, think of it this way. Having a great set of tools is what we call an ordinary capability. But having the skill to build a whole new set of tools when you need them, that is a dynamic capability. Now listen up, because this slide is absolutely key, especially for your exams. You have to know the difference. Ordinary capabilities are all about doing things right. That's your day-to-day operational efficiency, like getting really good at making gasoline engines. Dynamic capabilities, on the other hand, are about doing the right things. That's strategic adaptation. Realizing the future isn't about gasoline, it's about electric, and having the guts to pivot the entire company. Okay, so let's peel back the layers on this. David Teese's whole framework rests on 3 core pillars. The first, and you could argue it's the most important one, is sensing. It's simple, really. Before you can react to change, you have to be able to see it coming. So how does a company actually sense things? Well, it's a 3-step process. First, you have to scan. You're constantly watching everything. New tech, what customers are into, what your competitors are up to. Next, you have to identify. You've got to separate the signal from the noise and pinpoint the real opportunities and threats. And finally, you analyze. You have to figure out, okay, what does this actually mean for us strategically? And here we have the most classic, almost tragic example of a failure to sense: Kodak. Can you believe it? The company that invented the very first digital camera failed to see the digital tidal wave that was about to hit. They were so focused on their profitable film business that they just missed it. A really powerful lesson in what happens when you don't have your radar on. All right, so you've sensed the change. You see the wave coming. But, just seeing it isn't enough, right? You have to act. And that brings us to pillar number 2, seizing. This is all about grabbing that opportunity with both hands and making your move. Now, seizing an opportunity takes a certain kind of company. It's not for the timid. You have to be fast and aggressive with your decisions. You have to be willing to bet big and commit real money and resources. You often have to invent whole new business models. And this one is so important. you have to be willing to cannibalize your own products. That means launching something new, even if it kills one of your current cash cows. And if you want a masterclass in seizing, you have to look at Apple. They sensed that people wanted their phone, their music, and the internet all in one beautiful device. Then they seized that opportunity and created the iPhone. And they did it fully knowing it would make their incredibly popular, wildly profitable iPod obsolete. That right there is the definition of courage and seizing an opportunity. Okay, we're on to the final pillar. You've sensed the future, you've seized the opportunity, but there's one last massive hurdle: your own company. If your organization isn't built to actually deliver on this new plan, it's all for nothing. And that's why pillar 3 is transforming, the ability to change the very DNA of the organization. And this process, transformation, is tough. It involves 3 key actions. First, you have to shed. You've got to be willing to let go of old resources, old factories, old ways of doing things that are holding you back. Second, you acquire. You build or buy the new skills you need, maybe through an acquisition. And third, and this is often the hardest part, you restructure. You have to realign your entire organization, the culture, the departments, everything, to support the new direction. It's painful, but it's absolutely necessary. For a truly stunning example of transformation, we have to talk about IBM. This is a company that literally reinvented itself. They looked at the PC hardware market and realized the profits were gone. So what did they do? They sold their entire PC division to Lenovo and reconfigured the whole company, their entire workforce, to become a giant in high-profit areas like AI and cloud services. It was an absolutely dramatic and successful transformation. So now, let's bring it all home. Let's connect all these dots and see how dynamic capabilities essentially take that old resource-based view and give it a massive upgrade for the 21st century. Here's the bottom line. Dynamic capabilities upgrade that old RBV model in 3 really important ways. First, it stops seeing resources as a static pool you own and starts seeing them as a flowing river you manage. Second, the focus shifts from just owning great assets to having great strategic leadership. And third, it forces the company to constantly make sure that what it's good at on the inside matches the opportunities on the outside. Okay, everyone, pens down for a second. If you're going to remember just one thing for your exams from this whole discussion, make it this slide. In today's world, the ultimate most valuable resource a company can possess is not a factory, not a product, not a patent. It is the built-in capability to sense, seize, and transform. That's what ensures a company can keep creating new advantages for itself long after the old ones have faded away. So, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a little food for thought, a question to take with you. Looking at the corporate landscape in India today, which company do you think best demonstrates all 3 of these dynamic capabilities: sensing, seizing, and transforming? Think about it. Applying this framework to the real world is the best way to make it stick. Thank you for your time.